There's a hidden reason why you haven't had success in the garden yet, and in this video, I'm going to tell you what it is and what you can do about it. Over the last 9 years, I have taught tens of thousands of people how to start gardening. I've built hundreds of gardens, and I've watched millions of people start gardening and then quit. In fact, did you know that of all the millions of people who started gardening during COVID, more than 50% of them have since thrown in the trowel and completely quit? I don't want that to be you, and so that's why you gotta watch this video. When I started my business in 2015, the main question I got asked was, how do I set up my garden? Everyone claimed that was the main thing that was holding them back from garden success. So I wrote a book about it, Kitchen Garden Revival. In this book, I give you all the things you need to know to set up your kitchen garden the right way. But turns out that wasn't enough. Then everybody started telling me, well, I have my garden set up, but all my plants are dying. Everything I'm trying to grow is failing. So I decided to write a book all about the plants. I created a step-by-step system called Leaves, Roots, and Fruit. This starts with the easiest plants in the garden and slowly progresses to the more difficult ones. But then I found out this book wasn't enough. Even though thousands of people have read my books and taken my courses, so many of them still weren't seeing the success that I see in my garden. So I started to ask myself, what's the one thing that I have that they don't? What's the one thing I know about the garden that they don't yet? And I realized it was my habits. And so I wrote one more book. In fact, the original name for this book was Gardener Habits. For an entire year, I tracked the little things I do each and every day, all year long, to be sure that my garden is beautiful, productive, and that I'm eating from it every single day. We changed the title to be the 5-Minute Gardener because as I assess my days, my months, and my seasons, I realized that every little habit I have in the garden only takes 5 minutes. So if you haven't had success in the garden yet, if you've set up your garden, if you've picked out and planted all those plants and you're still not seeing the results you hope for, in fact, you've even thought about quitting, this is the book for you. Every single time you've got just 5 minutes to spare, you can open up this book, turn to the season that you're in, turn to the week and the day that you're in, and find out exactly what you should do with those few minutes you've got to give. Listen, 100 years ago, people would have laughed out loud at this book. Everyone back then had gardener habits. But over the last century, all of us, especially me, lost our connection to the garden and to nature. But this book is going to help you bring it back. Despite what everyone says, a gardener is not someone who's born with a green thumb. A gardener is someone who makes a habit of gardening. Looking back, I realized I had to design hundreds of gardens before I could create my garden setup system. And I had to work for years in the garden before I could develop my planting system. And it's taken an entire decade of learning to garden myself to develop this year-round list of habits that brings it all together. These habits didn't just change my garden, they literally changed my life, and I cannot wait for you to read this book. You can find out how to order your copy of 5-Minute Gardener right below this video. We've got loads of bonuses for every single order, and we have a huge launch party that I cannot wait for you to attend. Whatever you do, don't give up on gardening just yet. Read this book first.